The massive chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with nervous energy. Representatives from over 200 spacefaring civilizations gathered in the enormous circular hall. Many had traveled for weeks to attend this emergency session. The central platform remained empty, awaiting the arrival of the High Counselor. "What's this about?" asked Therese, a reptilian diplomat from the outer rim, his scaled skin reflecting the blue light from above. His companion, a crystalline being named Helix, vibrated slightly in response. "They found another intelligent species. Apparently, this one is concerning." Before they could continue, the hall lights dimmed. A tall, willowy figure glided to the central platform. High Counselor Vela, with her 6 elongated limbs and iridescent skin, commanded immediate silence. "Esteemed representatives," she began, her voice echoing through the chamber, "we have called this emergency session to discuss a newly discovered species from the third planet of a yellow star in the Orion spiral. They call themselves humans." A holographic image appeared above her, a blue and green world with swirling white clouds. "While their technology is primitive by our standards, our observers have documented behaviors that warrant extreme caution. The Council recommends classifying them as a protected species under the non-interference protocols." Murmurs spread across the chamber. Protected status was rare. A large figure rose from the Verax section. Admiral Krant, military commander of the expanding Verax Imperium. His armored exoskeleton clicked as he stood. "High Counselor, with respect, what possible threat could a pre-FTL species pose to any advanced civilization?" Vela gestured to her right, where an ancient being moved forward. Elder Mox belonged to one of the first species to achieve space travel. His kind had observed countless civilizations rise and fall over millennia. "The humans possess a trait we have rarely encountered," Mox said, his voice raspy with age. "When threatened, they do not surrender. When defeated, they do not accept. They wait. They plan. They remember." The elder tapped a control, and the hologram shifted to show scenes from human history. Small bands of fighters defeating larger forces, resistance movements surviving against overwhelming odds, isolated groups enduring extreme conditions. Unlike most species, humans can sustain conflict across generations. They pass their grievances to their children and their children's children. We have observed human descendants avenging wrongs committed against ancestors they never met. Admiral Krant laughed, the sound harsh and metallic through his translator. "Primitive tribal behaviors. Nothing that advanced weaponry cannot overcome." "There is more," Vela continued. "Humans adapt with exceptional speed. Their scientific development has accelerated dramatically in just the past century. Their minds seem uniquely suited to warfare, capable of turning almost anything into a weapon." The hologram displayed human history from stone tools to nuclear weapons, a progression that had taken other species 5 times as long to develop. Coral, a senior Verax diplomat sitting behind Admiral Krant, leaned forward with interest. Unlike most of his kind, he had specialized in xenopsychology. Something about these humans triggered his professional curiosity. "High Counselor," Krant interrupted, "the Verax have conquered 17 systems. We have faced hive minds, silicon-based life forms, and even energy beings. Each fell before our might. These, humans, would be no different." "That attitude," Elder Mox said quietly, "is precisely what makes them dangerous. They appear weak until they are not. By the time you realize your mistake, they have already begun their response." The chamber erupted in debate. Many of the older civilizations supported protected status, while expanding empires like the Verax argued against unnecessary restrictions. Coral watched as Krant grew increasingly dismissive. The Admiral was ambitious, always seeking new conquests to advance his standing with Emperor Draz. Humans would be an easy victory in Krant's mind. Primitives unable to defend against Verax technology. After hours of debate, Vela called for order. "The Council's recommendation stands. Earth is to be classified as protected, with no interference permitted. Our analysis suggests humans will achieve FTL capability within 100 years. We will welcome them properly when they reach the stars on their own terms. As the session ended, Coral approached a data terminal and downloaded all available information on humans. Something about Elder Mox's warning resonated with him. Between official meetings, he studied the files with growing concern. The humans were fractious and divided, yet capable of astonishing unity when threatened. Their history was soaked in blood, but also marked by incredible acts of mercy. They created art of breathtaking beauty, then used the same creativity to design more efficient weapons. Most disturbing was their response to aggression. Unlike rational species that calculated the costs of continued resistance, humans often fought hardest when victory seemed impossible. 3 cycles later, Coral stood at attention in the Emperor's chamber aboard the Imperial flagship. Admiral Krant was presenting his plan for what he called the Earth demonstration. "Great Emperor," Krant said, his exoskeleton polished to a high shine. "This backwater world provides the perfect opportunity to remind the Council of Varak's supremacy. Their protected designation is meaningless without enforcement." Emperor Draz, his armor more elaborate than any other Varak's, clicked his primary mandibles and thought. The Council's warnings. "Exaggerations, my Emperor. Our intelligence shows humans are divided into nearly 200 political entities, with incompatible weapon systems and limited space capability. They have never faced a united external threat." Coral stepped forward, breaking protocol. "My Emperor, if I may. The Council's concerns about human psychology warrant further study before. Are you suggesting the Varaks should fear primitives who have barely reached their own moon?" Krant cut in, his secondary arms twitching in irritation. Emperor Draz raised one massive claw, silencing them both. For long moments, he studied the holographic displays showing Earth's defenses, population centers, and resource distribution. "A simple conquest," he finally declared. "Show these humans our power, establish control of their planet, exploit their resources. The Council will protest, then accept the new reality, as they always do." Coral felt a chill run through his body. "The conquest parameters, my Emperor. Standard procedure: demonstration strikes on major population centers, followed by landing our forces at strategic points. Admiral Krant expects complete planetary submission within 1 standard cycle." Krant clicked in satisfaction. "We depart immediately, my Emperor. 30 vessels should be more than sufficient." As they left the chamber, Coral reviewed everything he had learned about humans. One historical quote kept repeating in his mind, from a human military leader: "You may have to fight a battle more than once to win it." The Varaks had never needed to fight any species twice. Their technological superiority had always guaranteed victory. But as the massive Varaks fleet began its journey toward Earth, Coral couldn't shake the feeling that they were making a terrible mistake. The Council's warning echoed in his mind. "Do not attack the humans. They will hunt you forever." No one was listening. The enormous Varak's warships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their obsidian hulls absorbing the sunlight rather than reflecting it. 30 vessels, each nearly 2 miles long, positioned themselves in strategic positions around Earth. For 18 minutes, they remained silent, allowing human detection systems to register their presence. On Earth, chaos erupted. Emergency sirens wailed across cities worldwide. Military forces scrambled fighter jets that seemed absurdly small against the alien vessels. World leaders were rushed to secure locations. Civilians flooded the streets, some fleeing, others standing in awe. Phones raised to capture humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial life. In the White House Situation Room, President Howard gripped the edge of the table. "What are our options?" General Mason, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, shook his head grimly. "Limited, Mr. President. Our most advanced weapons might as well be spitballs against those ships." The UN Security Council is meeting in emergency session. The Secretary of State reported. "Russia and China are moving to high alert. Everyone's waiting to see what these visitors want." The answer came moments later. Every screen, phone, and display device on Earth simultaneously showed the same image, a Verax in full battle armor. People of Earth, the translation appeared as text below the alien face. I am Admiral Krant of the Verax Imperium. Your planet now falls under our protection and authority. Resistance will be met with appropriate correction. Compliance will be rewarded. You have 1 hour to inform your leaders to surrender. President Howard's face hardened. Get me a direct line to whatever passes for a diplomat on those ships. In orbit, Coral received the communication request. Admiral, the humans wish to establish dialogue. Krant clicked his mandibles in amusement. As expected. Allow it. Coral opened the channel, watching as a human leader appeared on screen. The beam looked fragile, with no natural armor or weaponry visible. This is President Howard of the United States. We request peaceful discussion before any further action. We can arrange for UN representatives to. Your time is better spent preparing your surrender, Krant interrupted. We have studied your world. You have nothing capable of harming our vessels. We don't seek conflict, Howard responded, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. Krant turned to Coral. They truly don't understand their situation. Initiate demonstration strikes in exactly 50 minutes. Target military installations first, then government centers. After the transmission ended, Coral approached Krant privately. Admiral, the Council specifically warned against engagement with humans. Perhaps we should. The Council fears these primitives for no reason, Krant dismissed. After today, they will see the folly of their caution. At a U.S. Air Force base in Nevada, Commander Jack Miller watched the massive ships on radar. A decorated pilot with 15 years of combat experience, he had been quickly reassigned to lead a special response unit. Sir, we've got orders to launch everything we have, his communications officer reported. Miller shook his head. Those ships will swat our fighters like flies. He studied the tactical display, an idea forming. Tell the squadron to hold position. I need to make a call. Minutes later, he was connected to Dr. Elisa Thompson at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Doctor, I need to know if there's any pattern to the alien ship's energy signatures. Actually, yes, she replied, excitement in her voice despite the circumstances. They're emitting regular pulses across multiple frequencies. We think it's their communication system. If we match those frequencies with our own transmissions, potentially create interference, or worse, she said. I'm sending you the data now. Miller turned to his team. New plan. We're not going to fight them head-on. We're going to give them a headache. Exactly 50 minutes after their ultimatum, the Verax ships positioned themselves over Washington, D.C., Moscow, Beijing, and other capital cities. Their weapon systems hummed to life, glowing with ominous blue energy. Krant stood on the command deck, secondary arms folded in satisfaction. Begin primary demonstration strikes. The first shots never fired. Instead, a barrage of missiles launched from bases around the world. Not aimed directly at the Verax ships, they were programmed to detonate in the space around them, releasing electromagnetic pulses calibrated to match the exact frequencies of Verax communications. On Krant's ship, systems flickered. Ship-to-ship coordination failed. Targeting computers reset. What is happening? Krant demanded, his exoskeleton clicking in agitation. Coral checked the diagnostic systems. The humans have somehow disrupted our network. They're using our own communication frequencies against us. Impossible. They couldn't have analyzed and responded so quickly. But the evidence was clear. While the disruption wouldn't last long, it had created just enough confusion to delay the attack. In that brief window, Commander Miller led 3 squadrons of fighters in a daring maneuver. Rather than attacking directly, they executed a complex pattern that further scrambled Verax sensors, creating the impression of a much larger force. Admiral, a tactical officer reported, we're detecting hundreds of small craft approaching. Krant hissed in frustration. Destroy them all. The Verax weapons finally fired, but with targeting systems compromised, many shots went wide. Earth's fighters weaved through the barrage, some inevitably falling to the superior firepower, but others getting close enough to launch specialized warheads directly at the ship's sensor arrays. One Verax destroyer, its systems more affected than others, drifted out of formation. Miller directed his remaining fighters toward it, concentrating fire on what appeared to be external cooling systems. The destroyer's hull began to glow red in sections. Internal explosions followed. On the command ship, Krant watched in disbelief as one of his vessels listed to the side, trailing debris. "Impossible," he whispered. Corell felt a chill of validation. "The Council warned us, Admiral." Krant spun on him, rage evident in his posture. "This changes nothing. Begin planetary bombardment immediately. All ships, all targets." The next hours brought devastation to Earth. Verax weapons carved destruction across major cities. Millions died in the initial assault, yet human resistance continued, adapting with surprising speed. In underground bunkers and hastily established command centers, humanity's leaders gathered. Ancient enemies set aside differences in the face of extinction. "We need time," Dr. Thompson explained to a room of military commanders from a dozen nations. "I've analyzed the wreckage from the damaged ship. Their technology has vulnerabilities we can exploit, but I need more data." Commander Miller, his flight suit still singed from his narrow escape, stepped forward. "Then we'll get you that data, Doctor. We hit them once. We can hit them again." A Russian general nodded grimly. "We have submarines positioning beneath their landing forces. Chinese hackers are already probing their systems." "They expected us to surrender," President Howard said, looking at the maps showing Verax landing zones. "They don't understand what they've started." As night fell over a world forever changed, resistance cells began to form. Ordinary people became soldiers. Scientists became weapons designers. The Verax had calculated that humans would break under the first show of force. They had calculated wrong. In orbit, Corell reviewed the day's reports with growing concern. The humans had lost millions, but they had damaged a Verax destroyer, something no species had managed during first contact. More worryingly, they showed no signs of surrender. Instead, they were adapting, learning, organizing. The Council's warning replayed in his mind. "They will hunt you forever." The hunt had only just begun. 6 months into the occupation of Earth, Admiral Krant paced the command deck of his flagship. His armored exoskeleton clicked with each agitated step. The holographic displays surrounding him showed a planet that refused to submit. Another supply convoy lost. He demanded, mandibles clicking in fury. The tactical officer's posture conveyed clear discomfort. "Yes, Admiral. Ambushed in the region they call Montana. That makes 17 convoys this month alone." Krant slammed a clawed appendage against the console. What should have been a simple conquest had become a grinding war of attrition. The humans employed tactics that defied conventional military logic. They struck from shadows, vanished into wilderness, and operated in small cells that proved maddeningly difficult to track. "Where is Commander Zrel?" Krant demanded. "His patrol was due back 6 hours ago," another officer reported. "We've lost contact." Corell observed silently from his station. The diplomatic officer had been reassigned to intelligence analysis after his earlier warnings proved disturbingly accurate. He'd spent months studying human resistance patterns, finding an ingenuity that both impressed and terrified him. "Admiral," Corell said carefully, "perhaps we should consider a strategic withdrawal to orbital positions. The ground war is consuming resources at an unsustainable rate." Krant's head swiveled toward him. "Withdraw, and admit to Emperor Draz that primitives armed with chemical propellant weapons have forced the mighty Verax to retreat. The humans aren't fighting conventionally," Corell explained. "They've adapted their tactics specifically to our weaknesses. They target our communication relays, avoid direct confrontation, and strike only when they have advantage." Before Krant could respond, the ship's alarms blared. The main screen showed a Verax patrol vessel sending emergency signals before abruptly going silent. Location, Krant demanded. Near their Arctic Circle. It's the third outpost to go dark this week. In an abandoned mine shaft beneath the Canadian Rockies, Commander Jack Miller watched as his team unloaded equipment from the captured Verax scout ship. The vessel was smaller than their capital ships, but still packed with technology centuries beyond human development. Careful with that power core, he warned. Dr. Thompson needs it intact. The past 6 months had transformed Miller from fighter pilot to resistance leader. A jagged scar ran from his left eye to his jaw, a souvenir from a close encounter with a Verax patrol. His once pristine uniform had been replaced by practical combat gear cobbled together from military supplies and civilian clothing. Lisa Chen, his second-in-command and former Navy SEAL, secured the ship's weapon systems. Think the doc can make sense of this stuff? Miller nodded. If anyone can, it's Thompson. She's already reverse-engineered 3 of their communication devices. The scout ship had been captured through a combination of ingenuity and desperation. Miller's team had studied Verax patrol patterns, identified a vessel with minimal crew, then used reprogrammed Verax communication devices to send false orders, luring the ship into a trap. When it landed to investigate a fake distress signal, electromagnetic pulse charges disabled its systems long enough for Miller's team to storm aboard. The 4 Verax crew members fought fiercely, but fell to concentrated gunfire targeting the joints in their exoskeletons, a weakness discovered through bitter experience. Get this ship hidden deeper in the mine, Miller ordered. We move it to the research facility tonight. 500 miles south, in the remains of a university physics lab. Dr. Elisa Thompson hadn't slept in nearly 48 hours. Her workspace was cluttered with dismantled alien technology, handwritten equations, and empty coffee cups. Once a respected NASA scientist, Thompson now led Earth's most critical research division, Verax Tech Adaptation. Her team had grown from a handful of colleagues to hundreds of scientists working in hidden facilities around the globe, all sharing data through secure channels developed after the Verax destroyed conventional communications infrastructure. I think I've got it, she announced, adjusting a final connection in the device before her. Her assistant, Dr. Patel, looked up from his workstation. The communication interceptor. Thompson nodded, pushing her graying hair back from her face. The Verax use quantum entanglement for their ship-to-ship communications, completely secure, or so they thought. But there's a secondary system they use for ground forces that operates on principles similar to our own radio waves, just far more advanced. She activated the device. Immediately, the lab's speakers filled with the clicking, hissing language of the Verax, translated moments later by an algorithm her team had developed. Patrol 739, proceed to Sector 4. Resistance activity reported near human settlement Denver. Thompson allowed herself a rare smile. We can now intercept every order they send to ground forces. And if we can intercept, we can send false orders, Patel finished, eyes widening with the implications. Exactly. Get Miller on the secure line. The Resistance just got a new weapon. On the Verax command ship, Coral received an encrypted transmission from the Galactic Council. He had maintained secret communication with Council contacts, violating direct orders from Emperor Draz. Such actions would be considered treason, but Coral had begun to believe the Verax campaign on Earth was doomed to failure. The message was brief. Council monitoring situation. Human resistance exceeding all predicted models. Advise immediate withdrawal before situation deteriorates further. Coral deleted the message after committing it to memory. He had compiled extensive reports on human adaptive capabilities, documenting how they learned from each encounter, how they modified Verax technology for their own use, how they formed alliance networks that reassembled themselves when leaders were killed. Most concerning was their scientific progress. Human researchers had begun to understand Verax technology at an alarming rate. What had taken other conquered species decades to comprehend, humans were mastering in months. When he presented these findings to Admiral Krant, The response was dismissal tinged with growing desperation. They've lost major cities. Their governments are in ruins. They cannot win. With respect, Admiral, Coral had replied, they don't need to win. They merely need to ensure we lose. In orbit above Mars, a Verax supply depot went dark without warning. Security teams dispatched to investigate found the facility's Verax crew dead and critical components missing. The attack methodology matched no known resistance pattern. 2 days later, a Verax communications satellite exploded as a makeshift human spacecraft approached it. The craft appeared to be cobbled together from Verax parts and human technology, a hybrid that shouldn't have been possible with Earth's technological limitations. Admiral Krant demanded reinforcements from the Verax homeworld. The response from Emperor Draz was cold. Control the situation with resources assigned. Failure reflects poor command, not insufficient forces. Meanwhile, below the surface of the conflict, something unprecedented was happening. Dr. Thompson's team, working with salvaged Verax propulsion systems, had achieved a breakthrough. In a hidden facility beneath the Antarctic ice, the first human-made spacecraft incorporating alien technology neared completion. Built inside a massive cavern excavated before the invasion as a climate research station, the vessel represented humanity's first step beyond their besieged world. Commander Miller walked the length of the ship, marveling at what human determination had accomplished. "Will it fly?" he asked Thompson, who was calibrating the navigation systems. "Better than fly," she replied without looking up. "According to my calculations, it should be capable of faster-than-light travel." Miller stared at her. "That's impossible. We can't have mastered that technology so quickly." Thompson finally turned to him, exhaustion and excitement battling in her expression. "The Verax made a critical error, Commander. They thought destroying our cities would break us. Instead, they just made sure every surviving scientist, engineer, and problem solver on Earth had exactly one problem to focus on." She gestured toward the ship. "We're calling it Vengeance. First of many." Miller understood the implications. The tide wasn't just turning on Earth. Humanity was preparing to take the fight to the stars. The hunt was about to begin in earnest. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter had once been home to 3 Verax mining stations. Now it held only debris. Admiral Krant reviewed the footage again, mandibles clicking in agitation. The attack had been precise and devastating. "How many ships?" he demanded. 7, Admiral," the tactical officer replied. "Smaller than our cruisers but faster. They appeared from behind the larger asteroids, disabled our communications first, then targeted life support systems." Krant's armored exoskeleton creaked as he leaned forward. "And the mining crews?" "No survivors, Admiral. The humans took everything useful, equipment, materials, and all data storage units. 1 year had passed since the initial invasion of Earth. What should have been recorded as a glorious conquest for the Verax Imperium had instead become a military disaster that threatened Krant's career and life. Emperor Draz had stopped responding to his status reports. An ominous sign. Coral approached, carrying a data tablet. "Admiral, we've analyzed the ship designs used in the asteroid belt attack." The display showed vessels that were clearly hybrid constructions. Verax technology merged with human engineering in ways that shouldn't have been possible. "How are they progressing so quickly?" Krant hissed. "They've reverse-engineered our technology and adapted it to their needs," Coral explained. "But they're not simply copying. They're innovating, finding applications we never considered." The Admiral turned away, unwilling to accept the implications. "They're still contained within this solar system. We control the hyperspace routes. They cannot threaten the broader Imperium." Coral hesitated before speaking. "There's something else, Admiral." Long-range sensors detected an energy signature consistent with a hyperspace window opening near the edge of this system 3 days ago. Krant froze. "Impossible. They cannot have mastered hyperspace technology so quickly." "The evidence suggests otherwise," Coral said quietly. "I believe they've left their solar system." The bridge of the Vengeance hummed with activity as Commander Miller studied the star chart. What had once been theoretical knowledge, the positions of nearby star systems, was now a navigational reality. Humanity had reached the stars, but not as peaceful explorers. They had emerged as hunters. "System scan complete," announced Lisa Chen from the tactical station. "No Verax signatures detected." Miller nodded. "Take us out of hyperspace. Standard approach to the third planet." The Vengeance was the first of Earth's star vessels, but no longer the only one. Back home, Dr. Thompson supervised the construction of 20 more ships, each incorporating improvements based on data sent back by Miller's crew. The vessel dropped out of hyperspace, its hybrid engines glowing with blue energy. Ahead lay an inhabited world that, according to stolen Verax records, served as a minor supply depot for the Imperium. "Life signs?" Miller asked. "Multiple species," reported the science officer, Dr. Rivera. "Consistent with the trading post described in the Verax database. There's a small Verax military presence, maybe 30 individuals." Miller considered their options. Earth's government in exile, operating from hidden bunkers, had been clear. Establish contact with other species who might oppose the Verax. But they were also authorized to strike Verax targets of opportunity. "Take us into orbit," he decided, "and prepare a transmission in standard Galactic Council format." In the Galactic Council chambers, Elder Mox watched the emergency session with grim satisfaction. The massive display showed footage of human ships attacking Verax outposts across 3 star systems. "As we predicted," he told the assembled representatives, "the humans have not only survived the Verax invasion, but have now taken the conflict beyond their home system." High Counselor Villa's expression was somber. "We warned the Verax Imperium. The non-interference protocols exist for a reason." A representative from a system near Verax space rose. "The humans have contacted us directly. They seek no conflict with non-Verax species. They claim to be fighting only those who attack their world." "A limited vendetta," Mox nodded, "consistent with their historical patterns." Another counselor, representing a mining collective, spoke up. "The humans have offered to trade technology with non-Verax systems. They've developed hybrid systems that even our engineers find innovative." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The impossibility of what the humans had accomplished in just one standard year was difficult to process. Most species took decades to adapt alien technology. The humans had done it in months. "And what of the Verax response?" Vila asked. "Emperor Draz has declared maximum mobilization," reported a council intelligence officer. "But reports suggest growing internal problems. Several Verax colony worlds have questioned the wisdom of continuing the Earth campaign." Mox's ancient eyes narrowed. The Verax never expected to fight beyond Earth. They certainly never imagined humans would bring the war to them. On a Verax colony world 16 light-years from Earth, Governor Traz awoke to alarms. The night sky glowed with fire as the orbital defense station exploded. 6 human ships descended through the atmosphere, their weapons targeting military installations with surgical precision. Within hours, the limited Verax military presence had been eliminated, and the governor found himself facing a human delegation in his own command center. The lead human, a woman with dark skin and penetrating eyes, spoke through a translation device. "I am Admiral Harper of Earth Defense Force. This colony is now under our control." "You cannot hold a Verax world," the governor protested. "The Emperor will send." "The Emperor is currently dealing with simultaneous attacks on 6 other colonies," Harper interrupted. "We have no interest in your civilians. Our quarrel is with your military and leadership." She placed a data device on the table. "These are our terms. This colony will cease all support for the Verax military. In exchange, we will leave your civilian infrastructure intact and provide defense against any Verax retaliation." Governor Traz stared in disbelief. "You're asking me to commit treason." "I'm offering you survival," Harper corrected. "The Verax attacked our world without provocation. We are simply responding in kind." After the governor reluctantly agreed to the terms, Harper returned to her ship. Her second-in-command, a former UN diplomat, looked troubled. "Is something wrong, Marcus?" she asked. "We're becoming very good at this," he replied. "Almost too good. When does justifiable defense become conquest?" Harper looked out the viewport at the Verax colony below. "That's why we have strict protocols. We aren't here to build an empire. We're here to dismantle one that attacked us." Dr. Thompson stood before the leaders of Earth's unified resistance, now formally organized as the Earth Defense Council. The underground chamber in the Rocky Mountains served as humanity's de facto capital since the major cities had been destroyed. "The hyperspace network is the key," she explained, pointing to a holographic map showing glowing lines connecting star systems. "The Verax control major junction points, which is how they maintain their empire. If we can seize or disable these junctions, we effectively cut their territory into isolated sectors." President Howard, one of the few world leaders to survive the initial attack, studied the map. "And your team has mastered their hyperspace technology." "Not just mastered it," Thompson replied with professional pride. "Improved it. Our newer ships can create temporary hyperspace windows without relying on the established network. The Verax can't do that." General Cheng of the Chinese forces leaned forward. "How is this possible? We were a pre-space civilization 1 year ago." Thompson's expression hardened. "Necessity and focus. When the Verax destroyed our cities, they eliminated all distractions. Earth's best minds have been working on exactly one problem: how to defeat the Verax. No budget constraints, no competing priorities, no bureaucratic obstacles." She gestured to the star map. "We've established contact with 7 non-Verax civilizations who are providing additional technical assistance. Many were forced into the Verax Imperium and see us as potential liberators." President Howard nodded slowly. "Commander Miller's latest report indicates the Verax are pulling forces back to protect their core worlds. They never expected to fight a multi-system war. They thought they were hunting primitives," Thompson said. "They didn't realize they were creating hunters." The hyperspace map flickered as new data arrived. A human ship had just emerged in a system only 3 light-years from the Verax homeworld. The hunt was accelerating. 10 years after the Verax invasion of Earth, the galactic landscape had transformed beyond recognition. The once mighty Verax Imperium had contracted to a fraction of its former territory. Where their warships had once inspired fear, they now traveled in defensive clusters, wary of the shadows between stars. Admiral Jack Miller, his hair now streaked with gray, stood on the observation deck of the EDF Resilience. At nearly 1 mile long, the flagship represented the pinnacle of human military engineering, a blend of reverse-engineered Verax technology and innovative human design. Behind him, a fleet of 300 vessels prepared for what might be the final campaign of the war. "Admiral," his executive officer approached, "the Galactic Council representatives have arrived." Miller nodded. "Show them in." The delegation entered, led by High Counselor Vela herself. The willowy alien regarded Miller with a complex mixture of respect and unease. "Admiral Miller," she began, "the Council appreciates your willingness to meet before the planned operation. 10 years ago, your Council warned the Verax not to attack Earth," Miller replied, his voice carrying the weight of hard experience. "They should have listened." Elder Mox, now supported by a hovering mobility device, moved forward. "Indeed. And now the galaxy has witnessed the consequences. Your species has accomplished in a decade what others could not in centuries." The observation window showed the staging area where ships from a dozen formerly subjugated worlds had joined the human fleet. Earth had found allies among those who had suffered under Verax rule. "We've come to discuss terms," Vela continued. "Emperor Draz has finally agreed to open diplomatic channels." Miller's expression hardened. After 10 years of war, after billions of human deaths, now he wants to talk. "The alternative," Mox said softly, "is the complete destruction of the Verax as a civilization. Is that what humanity seeks? Genocide? The question hung in the air. Miller turned to look at the stars, remembering the burning cities of Earth, the refugee camps, the years of desperate resistance. No, he finally said. Justice, not extinction. But justice must be served. On the Verax homeworld, Emperor Draz faced the Imperial Council in the ancient Chamber of Ancestors. Once adorned with trophies from conquered worlds, the walls now stood bare. The symbols of Verax dominance had been systematically destroyed by human strike teams. The humans have agreed to negotiations, Draz announced, his once commanding voice now subdued. His exoskeleton, once gleaming with decorative elements signifying his status, was now functional and battle-scarred. Admiral Krant, who had somehow survived despite his catastrophic failure on Earth, clicked his mandibles nervously. Can we trust them to honor any agreement? They have shown no mercy in their campaign. An older Verax rose from his seat. Governor Coral had risen to prominence in recent years as one of the few officials who had accurately assessed the human threat from the beginning. Now he served as the head of the Emergency Governance Committee formed after human attacks had destabilized the traditional imperial structure. The humans have been methodical, not genocidal, Coral pointed out. They have destroyed our military capabilities and leadership structures, but have specifically avoided mass civilian casualties. When offered surrender, they have accepted it. They're dismantling our empire piece by piece, another counselor complained. An empire built on the conquest of others, Coral replied. They are simply more efficient at it than we were. Emperor Draz's mandibles clicked in irritation. The terms they offer are humiliating. Complete military disarmament, reparations to Earth, and other worlds we conquered. A human-led oversight committee to monitor compliance. The alternative is extinction, Coral said bluntly. Their newest vessels can strike anywhere in our territory without warning. Our remaining military forces cannot stop them. The Emperor's posture conveyed defeat. For a species that had known only expansion and victory for thousands of years, the past decade had been incomprehensible. The humans had not simply fought back. They had systematically unraveled the foundations of Verax power. How did we miscalculate so badly? Draz asked quietly. Coral activated a display showing the original Galactic Council warning about humanity. We ignored their most defining characteristic. When threatened, they do not surrender. When defeated, they do not accept. They wait. They plan. They remember. In a secure conference room aboard the Resilience, Dr. Elisa Thompson reviewed the final peace terms. Now the head of Earth's Advanced Technologies Division, she had overseen the transformation of humanity from a planetary to an interstellar civilization. These terms will prevent them from threatening anyone again, she told Miller. Their military technology will be reduced to defensive capabilities only. Miller nodded, studying the document. And the reparations? Substantial, but focused on rebuilding rather than punishment. Their mining colonies will provide resources for reconstructing Earth's cities. The door opened, admitting President Taylor, the third to hold office since the war began. Earth's government had stabilized as the immediate threat receded, though scars of the invasion remained visible from orbit. The Council has approved our terms with minor amendments, Taylor announced. They've also formally invited Earth to join the Galactic Council as a full member. Miller raised an eyebrow. That was faster than expected. Not really, Thompson said with a thin smile. We've demonstrated capabilities that frighten them. Better to have us inside their system than operating independently. President Taylor looked out at the assembled fleet. Is this show of force necessary for peace negotiations? Absolutely, Miller replied without hesitation. The Verax only respect strength. They need to understand that accepting these terms isn't a choice. It's the only way they survive as a species. The signing ceremony took place in neutral territory, a space station orbiting a gas giant in an uninhabited system. Emperor Draz and his delegation arrived first, followed by the Earth representatives and Galactic Council observers. When Miller entered the chamber, Draz's posture registered surprise. "You're the pilot who damaged our destroyer during the first attack." Miller nodded. "Commander Miller then. Admiral now. You've hunted us across the stars for a decade," Draz said, a note of something like respect in his translated voice. "You were warned," Miller replied simply. As the formal proceedings began, Coral approached Miller privately. "I tried to prevent this war," the Varax admitted. "I studied your species and understood what the others did not." "Then you're wiser than most," Miller acknowledged. "Your kind fights differently," Coral observed. "Most species wage war for territory or resources. You fought for memory. For those you lost." Miller looked at the Varax thoughtfully. "We fought because you gave us no choice. Remember that when you rebuild." After the signing, High Counselor Vela addressed the assembled delegates. "Let this day mark not just the end of a conflict, but a lesson for all spacefaring civilizations. The protocols exist to prevent exactly this kind of tragedy." Elder Mox, who had warned of human capabilities years before, added his own thoughts. "Today we formalize what has become known as the human lesson. Underestimate no species, respect all sentient life, and remember that conquest creates not subjects, but enemies." 1 month later, Miller stood on a hill overlooking the reconstruction of Washington, D.C. earth-moving equipment, cleared the rubble of the old city while new buildings rose from the devastation. The skyline would never be the same, but it would exist again. Dr. Thompson joined him, carrying a data tablet. "The last Varax warships have been decommissioned under Council supervision." "And our fleet?" Miller asked. "Transitioning to exploration and defense," she replied. "Though we're maintaining advanced capabilities. The galaxy has noticed us now." Below them, a school group toured the memorial to those lost in the first attacks. The children had been born during the war. Peace was a new concept for them. "Was it worth it?" Miller asked quietly. "All this death and destruction?" Thompson considered the question carefully. "We didn't choose this war, but we chose how to end it, not with extinction, but with justice and a new beginning." A diplomatic shuttle appeared overhead, heading for the new Galactic Council embassy. Earth was no longer an isolated world, but a respected power among the stars. The price had been unimaginably high, but humanity had emerged stronger, more unified, and with technologies that would have taken centuries to develop otherwise. "The Varax learned their lesson," Miller said, watching the children at the memorial. "I hope we learned ours." Thompson nodded. "We're teaching it already. Peace through strength, justice through restraint." As they turned to leave, Miller glanced once more at the memorial. The warning that the Galactic Council had given the Varax was engraved there in stone. "Do not attack the humans. They will hunt you forever." It had proven prophetic, but not inevitable. The hunt was over. Now the massive drill bit broke through the final layer of rock, sending vibrations through the underground facility that made coffee cups rattle on desks 3 miles below the Pacific Ocean. Admiral James Thompson stood at the observation window, watching as robots cleared away the debris. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his hands were clasped tightly behind his back. This was the 20th expansion to the facility in 3 years, and they needed every cubic foot of space they could get. "Admiral, the new reactor chamber is ready for inspection," Dr. Amanda Wells said as she walked up beside him. She was holding a tablet displaying a 3-dimensional blueprint of their underground complex, known only as the Forge. "How are we doing on power consumption?" Thompson asked, his eyes still fixed on the drilling operation. "We're managing, sir. The geothermal taps are providing enough energy to keep us hidden from thermal scans, but once we start the main assembly..." She left the sentence hanging. Thompson nodded slowly. They both knew what was at stake. 3 years ago, the aliens had come without warning. While the world's armies had fought them in the skies and on land, it was the oceans where humanity had truly learned how outmatched they were. The aliens' underwater vessels had cut through Earth's most advanced submarines like they were made of paper. The memory of watching the U.S. Gerald Ford battle group disappear from radar still haunted Thompson's dreams. 15 ships and 20,000 sailors, gone in less than 6 minutes. The aliens' aquatic technology had been so far beyond anything Earth possessed that the only reason humanity survived at all was because the invaders had focused most of their forces on land-based targets. "Show me the latest tests on the hull materials," Thompson said, finally turning away from the window. Amanda pulled up a new set of data on her tablet. The screen showed microscopic images of what looked like liquid metal shifting and flowing under different pressures. "The metamaterial is exceeding our initial specifications. It can now handle pressure variations of up to 1,500 atmospheres without showing any stress patterns. Dr. Miller thinks we might be able to push it even further." They walked together through the sprawling underground complex, passing hundreds of engineers and technicians. The forge employed over 5,000 people, all of whom had essentially disappeared from the surface world. Their families had been relocated to a purpose-built community on an artificial island, one of the few places on Earth where they could live without fear of being discovered. The main assembly chamber was a cathedral of technology. Rising nearly 1,000 feet high and stretching twice that in length, it housed the partially completed form of humanity's secret weapon. The U.S. Nemesis was unlike anything ever built before. Its dark hull seemed to drink in the light, and its shape defied conventional naval architecture. "We've completed the integration of the quantum core," Amanda said as they stood on the highest observation platform. "The power output is stable, and the shielding is holding. We can now run the engines at full capacity without risking detection." Thompson watched as robotic arms the size of office buildings carefully positioned another hull section. "And the AI integration? That's complicated." Amanda pulled up another set of readings. "The quantum processor is operating far beyond our initial predictions. It's not just learning. It's creating new operational protocols we didn't program. Last week, it suggested improvements to its own cooling system that none of our engineers had even considered." Thompson frowned. "Is it dangerous?" "Not in the way you're thinking. It's not trying to break free or take over. It's just eager, like a child who's learning faster than its teachers can keep up. It wants to protect us. That seems to be its core drive, beyond all the military protocols we've installed." They took an elevator down to the engineering level, where dozens of technicians were working on a section of the ship's outer skin. The metal rippled slightly under the bright lights, adjusting its molecular structure to maintain optimal strength. "The aliens think they know everything about us," Thompson said quietly. "They think they can read our every move, predict our every strategy. They believe their sensors can detect any weapon we might build." He reached out and touched the hull, feeling the slight warmth of the living metal under his fingers. "But they don't know about this place. They don't know that we've taken their own technology, stolen from their wrecked ships, and pushed it far beyond what they thought possible." Amanda checked another reading on her tablet. "Sir, we're getting some unusual readings from the AI core. It's requesting access to more historical battle data. Give it what it wants. Every naval battle in human history, every strategy, every victory, and every defeat. Let it learn from all of our mistakes and triumphs." A young lieutenant hurried up to them, holding a security tablet. "Admiral, we've detected unusual sonar activity near the seamount. A Chinese fishing vessel might have strayed too close to the exclusion zone." Thompson's face hardened. "Activate the acoustic disruptors. Make sure their instruments show nothing but normal background noise, and get me a direct line to Beijing. I need to remind some people about the importance of maintaining our fishing treaties." This was the reality of their work. Every day was a balance between pushing the boundaries of technology and maintaining absolute secrecy. One slip, one satellite photo, one stray sonar ping could reveal their location to the aliens who still watched Earth from their orbital stations. The forge had been built in the aftermath of humanity's Pyrrhic victory over the first invasion. While the public celebrated and governments spoke boldly about standing up to alien aggression, a select few had understood the truth. The aliens had only sent a small expeditionary force. The real invasion was still coming. Time estimate to completion. Thompson asked as they completed their inspection round. 4 months for final assembly, then at least 2 months of testing before we can even think about sea trials, Amanda replied. Assuming nothing goes wrong. Thompson almost smiled. In a project this complex, something always went wrong. But they had planned for that, built in redundancies upon redundancies. The forge itself was a testament to humanity's determination to survive. Built in secret using black budget funds from 12 different nations, it represented the largest covert engineering project in human history. Dr. Wells, Thompson said as they reached his office, do you ever wonder if we're taking too big a risk? Putting too many resources into one ship? Amanda looked through the armored windows at the enormous vessel below. Sir, when the aliens came, they showed us exactly what they thought of us. They saw us as primitive, easy prey. This ship, she gestured at the Nemesis, this is our answer. Not just a weapon, but proof that humanity can't be underestimated. Thompson sat down at his desk, which was covered with reports from various project teams. The quantum core is stable. The hull can adapt to any depth. The AI is evolving beyond our expectations, and we're still completely hidden from detection. He looked up at Amanda. Now we just have to hope we can finish it before they come back. We'll finish it, Amanda said with quiet confidence. And when we do, the aliens will learn what humanity can accomplish when we're backed into a corner. Deep in the assembly chamber, the Nemesis AI silently processed terabytes of naval warfare data, learning, adapting, and preparing for its purpose. Its consciousness, far beyond what its creators had intended, was focused on a single goal: protecting Earth's oceans from any threat, no matter how advanced. In the darkness of the underground facility, humanity's secret weapon was slowly taking shape, hidden from the eyes of the very enemies it was built to destroy. The ocean was perfectly still when Captain Michael Reed first saw the U.S. Nemesis in daylight. The massive door of the forge's underwater exit bay had opened an hour earlier, and now the most advanced warship ever built by human hands was slowly emerging from its underground birthplace. In the early morning sun, its dark hull seemed to shift and flow like liquid shadow. Reed stood on the small observation platform of a support vessel, watching as his new command broke the surface. Despite having studied every detail of the ship during his 3 months of preparation, seeing it in person still took his breath away. The Nemesis was beautiful in the way predators were beautiful, sleek, dangerous, and perfectly adapted to its environment. She's something else, isn't she? Lieutenant Thomas Parker said, joining his captain at the railing. As the ship's AI systems officer, Parker had spent more time interfacing with the Nemesis's artificial intelligence than anyone else. The AI is excited. It's been running combat simulations nonstop since we started the launch sequence. Reed nodded, studying the unusual contours of the ship. Unlike conventional vessels with their sharp angles and flat surfaces, the Nemesis looked almost organic. Its hull rippled occasionally, the metamaterial surface adjusting to the changing pressures and temperatures around it. How's our friend dealing with the real world? Reed asked, referring to the AI. During the final months of construction, it had shown remarkable growth, developing what some of the engineers swore was a distinct personality. Better than expected, Parker replied, checking his tablet. It's processing environmental data at an incredible rate. Water temperature, salinity, current patterns. It's building a real-time model of the entire operational area. But, he hesitated. But what, Lieutenant? It's asking questions, not just about operations and protocols, but about the ocean itself. It seems fascinated by marine life, especially whales. It's been requesting access to marine biology databases. Reed raised an eyebrow. This wasn't in any of the briefing materials he'd studied. Is that going to be a problem? I don't think so, sir. If anything, it might help. The more it understands about natural ocean patterns, the better it can hide us. A series of low thumps echoed across the water as the Nemesis tested its external acoustic systems. The sound was oddly musical, almost like a whale song. Several dolphins appeared near the ship, seemingly attracted by the noise. "Time to board," Reed said, checking his watch. The support vessel moved alongside the Nemesis, where a section of the hull had transformed into a boarding ramp. The metal flowed and reshaped itself as they watched, another display of the ship's incredible adaptive capabilities. The interior of the Nemesis was unlike any vessel Reed had served on before. The corridors curved organically, and the walls seemed to pulse with a faint inner light. The bridge, when they reached it, was a marvel of integrated technology. Instead of traditional stations and screens, the entire room was a single interactive space. "Welcome aboard, Captain Reed," a calm voice said as they entered. The AI's voice was neither male nor female, but it carried a warmth that made it feel surprisingly human. "All systems are operating at optimal levels. We are ready to begin sea trials at your command." The bridge crew took their positions, each connecting to their stations through neural interfaces, another piece of modified alien technology. Reed sat in the command chair, feeling the subtle connection form between his mind and the ship's systems. "Status report," he ordered. "Hull integrity at 100%, the AI responded. "Quantum core stable and running at 30% capacity. All weapons systems in standby mode. Stealth systems active and functioning normally. We are currently invisible to all known detection methods." Reed took a deep breath. "Very well. Take us down to 1,000 feet. Let's see what you can do." The descent was so smooth they barely felt it. On the holographic displays surrounding them, Reed watched as the ocean depths opened up before them. The Nemesis moved through the water with impossible grace, its hull constantly adjusting to maintain perfect hydrodynamic flow. "Sir," Parker called out, "the AI is suggesting a deep water test. It wants to try the pressure adaptation systems." Reed studied the proposed dive plan. It was aggressive but well within the ship's theoretical capabilities. "Make it happen." The Nemesis turned towards the deep ocean, its powerful engines pushing it forward with barely a ripple. As they passed 2,000 feet, then 3,000, the hull began to change more dramatically. The metal compressed and strengthened, adjusting its molecular structure to handle the increasing pressure. 5,000 feet, Parker announced. "All systems nominal. The AI is..." "Sir, it's laughing." "What?" "Not exactly laughing, but it's expressing joy. It says this is what it was made for. It wants to go deeper." Reed found himself smiling. He understood the feeling. This was what every sailor dreamed of. A ship that could go anywhere, do anything, completely master its environment. At 7,000 feet, they encountered a sperm whale. The massive creature swam alongside them for several minutes, seemingly curious about this strange new visitor to its domain. The AI tracked it with multiple sensors, studying its movements and sonar patterns. "I am learning," the AI announced. "The whale's biosonar is fascinating. I am incorporating elements of its frequency modulation into our own acoustic systems." Reed exchanged looks with Parker. This kind of adaptive learning went far beyond their expectations. The AI wasn't just operating the ship, it was evolving, improving itself based on everything it encountered. They spent the next 12 hours testing various systems. The Nemesis demonstrated its ability to change shape, becoming longer and more streamlined for speed runs, then compressing into a more compact form for maximum maneuverability. Its stealth systems proved flawless. Even when they deliberately passed within a mile of a Chinese destroyer, the other vessel showed no sign of detecting them. "Ready for weapons testing, Captain," the AI said as they reached the designated deep water testing range. "I suggest we begin with the sonic pulse array." The weapons tests were spectacular. The sonic weapons could create focused pressure waves that could theoretically tear apart any conventional submarine. The gravitational pulse generators, reverse-engineered from alien technology, could create localized distortions in the water that would crush enemy vessels like empty soda cans. But it was during the final test of the day that something unexpected happened. As they were preparing to test the plasma torpedo system, the AI suddenly went quiet. "What's wrong?" Reed asked, noting the change in the ambient lighting. "Captain," the AI's voice was different now, more focused. "I am detecting unusual seismic activity approximately 40 miles east of our position. The pattern does not match any natural phenomenon in my database." Reed leaned forward in his chair. "Show me." The holographic display filled with complex sensor data. Something large was moving deep under the ocean floor, something that wasn't supposed to be there. "Analysis?" Reed asked. "The movement pattern and energy signature match recorded data from the alien invasion vessels," the AI replied. "With 93.7% certainty, I believe we are detecting an unknown alien installation." The bridge went silent. Everyone knew what this meant. Despite humanity's best efforts to monitor alien activity, something had slipped through. Something had been hiding under the ocean floor, possibly since the first invasion. "Your orders, Captain?" the AI asked. There was an edge to its voice now, an eagerness that reminded Reed of a hunting dog straining at its leash. Reed studied the sensor data for a long moment. They weren't supposed to engage in combat during the sea trials. The Nemesis was still untested in actual battle conditions. But if there really was an alien presence out there— "Plot an intercept course," he ordered. "Full stealth protocols. Let's see exactly what we're dealing with." The Nemesis glided through the deep water like a ghost, its hull now as black as the surrounding darkness. Captain Reed watched the sensor displays as they closed in on the mysterious signal. The alien installation was definitely there, hidden beneath 2 miles of rock. But it wasn't alone anymore. 3 vessels have emerged from an underwater tunnel, the AI reported. Configuration matches known alien destroyer designs, but these are larger. New models we haven't seen before. Lieutenant Parker's hands moved across his control interface, pulling up detailed scans. "Sir, they're running active sonar suites. Very advanced stuff. If we were any other ship, they'd have spotted us already." Reed nodded slowly. The alien vessels were arranging themselves in a search pattern, their powerful sensors prodding the waters around them. They were hunting, but they didn't know exactly what they were hunting for. The Nemesis stealth systems were proving their worth. "Show me their weapons," Reed ordered. The holographic display filled with technical data as the AI analyzed the alien ships. Primary armament appears to be plasma torpedo tubes, similar to our own but less advanced. They also carry gravitational disruptors and what appears to be some form of sonic weapon. "They copy our ocean's whales," Parker said suddenly. "Those sonic weapons, they're based on whale songs, just like what we discovered earlier. They've been studying Earth's sea life, just like we have." Reed felt a chill run down his spine. How long had the aliens been hiding down here, learning about Earth's oceans? Had they been watching humanity's recovery after the invasion, waiting for the right moment to strike again? "Captain," the AI's voice was urgent now. "They've deployed some kind of autonomous underwater drone. It's moving in a random search pattern. Current trajectory will bring it within our sensor shadow in approximately 3 minutes. Can we avoid it?" "Negative. The search pattern is too unpredictable. We cannot maintain stealth and guarantee evasion." Reed straightened in his command chair. They had trained for this, but training was one thing. Actually engaging alien warships with an untested vessel was something else entirely. "Combat stations," he ordered. "Power up all weapons systems, but keep them in passive mode. Let's see if we can take out that drone without alerting the main ships." The crew responded with quiet efficiency as the Nemesis prepared for its first real fight. The ship's hull rippled slightly, reactive armor plates shifting into optimal defensive positions. "Drone approaching," Parker reported. 30 seconds. "I have a solution," the AI announced. I can generate a focused pressure wave that will appear natural to their sensors. It will destroy the drone, but register as a normal deep ocean current surge." Reed smiled. The AI was already thinking like a submarine commander. "Do it." The attack was so subtle that Reed barely felt it. A slight vibration ran through the ship as precisely calculated waves of pressure radiated out from the Nemesis's hull. The drone never knew what hit it. One moment it was searching. The next it was crushed by what appeared to be a random oceanic phenomenon. But the alien ships weren't fooled for long. "They're moving to investigate," Parker reported. "All 3 destroyers are converging on the drone's last position. Their search pattern is tightening." Reed knew they had a choice to make. They could try to slip away, preserving their secret, but leaving an alien base intact beneath the ocean floor, or they could fight. The decision was made for them when one of the alien ships suddenly turned directly toward them. "We've been detected," the AI announced calmly. "Their new sensor systems are more advanced than expected. They're charging weapons." "So much for secrets," Reed said. "Battle stations. Show them what we can do." The Nemesis's transformation was incredible to watch. The entire hull shifted, armor plates thickening and weapons ports appearing where there had been smooth metal moments before. The quantum core hummed to full power, sending energy surging through the ship's systems. The first alien shot was a plasma torpedo, its bright blue energy cutting through the water. But the Nemesis was already moving, its hull flowing like liquid metal as it executed an impossible turn. The torpedo passed harmlessly by, detonating in the empty water behind them. "Target the nearest destroyer," Reed ordered. "Let's test our own plasma weapons." The Nemesis response was devastating. A focused beam of superheated plasma, far more advanced than the alien weapon, struck the enemy ship's bow. The alien vessel's shields flared and failed, and its hull began to melt. "2 more ships approaching fast," Parker reported. "They're coordinating their fire." The water around them erupted with energy as the alien vessels unleashed everything they had. But the Nemesis was in its element now. Its adaptive hull absorbed some hits and deflected others, while the AI calculated and executed maneuvers that should have been impossible for a ship its size. "Their targeting systems are adapting to our movement patterns," the AI warned, switching to randomized evasion protocols. The battle became a dance of technology and skill. The Nemesis spun and dove through the deep water, its weapons striking with deadly precision, while its defenses proved nearly impenetrable. The alien ships were powerful, but they were fighting a vessel that had been specifically designed to counter their technology. One of the alien destroyers exploded under a combined assault of plasma fire and gravitational distortion, its hull crumpling like paper as artificial gravity waves tore it apart. The second took a direct hit from the Nemesis's sonic weapon array, its internal systems shattered by precisely tuned frequencies. The third ship tried to retreat, broadcasting a warning signal toward the underwater base. Reed couldn't allow that signal to reach its destination. "Maximum power to forward weapons," he ordered. "Don't let it get away." The Nemesis surged forward, its hull streamlining for pure speed. The quantum core pulsed with energy as the ship pushed itself to its limits. The fleeing alien vessel never had a chance. A combination of plasma fire and focused pressure waves broke it into pieces that slowly sank into the darkness. But they weren't done yet. The underwater base was still active, and now it knew they were here. "Multiple energy signatures detected," the AI reported. "The base is activating some kind of defense system." And there was a pause. "Captain, I'm detecting a massive power surge. They're attempting to transmit a long-range signal. Can you block it?" "Attempting to generate interference." "Negative. The signal is too powerful. It will reach their orbital stations." Reed gripped his chair's armrests. Their secret was well and truly out now. Soon, every alien ship in the solar system would know about the Nemesis. "Sir," Parker called out, "the AI is suggesting something. It wants to use the base's own transmission to send a message of our own." What kind of message? The AI's voice was strong and clear. A warning, Captain. Let me show them exactly what happened here. Let me broadcast the destruction of their ships in full detail. Let them see what humanity has created. Reed thought about it for a moment. Their existence was no longer a secret, but maybe they could turn that to their advantage. Let the aliens see what they were facing. Let them know that humanity had surpassed them. Do it, he ordered. The Nemesis tapped into the base's transmission, adding its own data stream to the signal. Across the alien communication network, the message would be clear. Earth's oceans were no longer undefended. A new predator ruled these waters, one that could match and exceed anything the aliens could bring to bear. As they turned to deal with the underwater base, Reed couldn't help but smile. The Nemesis had proven itself beyond their wildest expectations. The aliens would be back, and in greater numbers, but now they would come with fear in their hearts. The secret was out, but maybe that wasn't such a bad thing after all. Admiral Thompson stood in the emergency command center of the forge, watching as dozens of red dots appeared on the global tactical display. The aliens had responded to the destruction of their secret base exactly as expected, with overwhelming force. Their warships were entering Earth's atmosphere in waves, all of them heading for the oceans. 17 capital ships and at least 40 support vessels, he said, studying the patterns. They're not even trying to hide anymore. They want us to see them coming. The Nemesis was currently hidden in the depths of the Indian Ocean, waiting. After destroying the underwater base, Captain Reed had taken his ship on a series of hit-and-run attacks against alien positions across the Pacific. Each victory had drawn more enemy forces to Earth, exactly as planned. "Sir," a communications officer called out, "we're receiving emergency signals from coastal cities worldwide. The alien ships are taking up attack positions." Thompson nodded grimly. "Send the signal to Captain Reed. Operation Tsunami is now active." Deep beneath the waves, the Nemesis received the transmission. The ship had changed since its first battle, its AI growing more sophisticated with each engagement. The living metal of its hull had developed new patterns, like battle scars that refused to fade. "They're deploying their forces in a standard search grid," the AI reported to Captain Reed. "But their flagship, the Harbinger of Dawn, is holding position in the South China Sea. Energy readings suggest it's at least 3 times the size of their other capital ships." Reed studied the tactical display. The alien vessels were spreading out across Earth's oceans, trying to force the Nemesis into a confrontation. They still didn't understand what they were dealing with. "Begin Phase 1, he ordered. "Let's show them how we fight in our waters." The Nemesis' first strike came without warning. Using data collected from deep-sea creatures, the ship had learned to navigate the ocean's complex thermal layers like a master. It appeared beneath an alien patrol group off the coast of Australia, its weapons already firing. 3 enemy vessels were destroyed before they could even activate their shields. The others scattered, sending panicked signals to their fleet. But by the time reinforcements arrived, the Nemesis was gone, leaving only wreckage and confusion in its wake. "Their command structure is fragmenting," Lieutenant Parker reported, monitoring enemy communications. "Each group is demanding support, spreading their forces thinner." The AI's voice held a note of satisfaction. "They still think in terms of space combat. They expect us to fight like their ships, to follow predictable patterns. They haven't learned." The next attack came in the Atlantic. The Nemesis used the underwater mountains and trenches like cover, its adaptive hull allowing it to squeeze through gaps that should have been impossible. It emerged from a narrow canyon to tear apart an alien destroyer group, then disappeared into the darkness before their deaths could even be reported. "Multiple distress calls," Parker announced. "They're pulling their smaller ships back, trying to concentrate their forces around the capital ships." Reed smiled, "Just like we thought they would." Begin Phase 2. The Nemesis began a series of false attacks, using its advanced sonar to mimic the signatures of multiple vessels. The alien fleet scattered their forces trying to chase shadows, while the real threat moved steadily closer to their command ship. In the Forge's command center, Admiral Thompson watched the plan unfold. "They're falling for it," he said quietly. "Their entire strategy is based on fighting an enemy fleet. They still haven't realized they're up against a single ship." The aliens' frustration became evident in their tactics. They began using their energy weapons to boil huge sections of ocean, trying to force the Nemesis into the open. But the quantum-powered vessel simply dove deeper, using the extreme pressures of the ocean depths as another layer of protection. "The Harbinger of Dawn is moving," the AI reported. "It's heading for the Mariana Trench. Their commander has realized our advantage in shallow waters. They're trying to force us into a deep water engagement." Reed exchanged looks with his bridge crew. This was the moment they had been waiting for. "Show me the trench calculations again." The holographic display filled with complex data about ocean currents, pressure variations, and geological fault lines. The AI had spent weeks studying the Mariana Trench, learning its secrets, understanding how to use the deepest part of Earth's oceans as a weapon. "All systems are optimized for extreme depth operations," the AI reported. "Hull integrity is at maximum. The quantum core is stable and ready for power spikes." Reed took a deep breath. "Send word to Admiral Thompson. Tell him we're beginning the final phase. Then take us down. Let's introduce them to real deep-sea combat." The Nemesis descended into the darkness of the trench, its hull compressing and strengthening as the pressure increased. At these depths, even the aliens' advanced sensors were severely limited. But the Nemesis, with its whale-inspired sonar and ability to sense the smallest changes in water pressure, could see perfectly. The Harbinger of Dawn followed them down, its massive form displacing enormous volumes of water. Other alien ships tried to follow but were forced to turn back as their hulls began to crack under the extreme pressure. "They're alone now," Parker said, watching as the last escort ship retreated. "Just us and their flagship." The alien vessel was truly enormous, its hull gleaming with energy shields designed to withstand the crushing depths. It began to flood the trench with sensor pulses, trying to pin down the Nemesis's location. "They're scanning for us on frequencies they used during the first invasion," the AI noted. "They haven't realized how much we've evolved since then." Reed leaned forward in his command chair. "Show them. Show them everything we can do." The Nemesis struck first, using the trench walls to amplify its sonic weapons. The focused sound waves hit the alien ship like physical blows, creating microscopic cracks in its hull. The enemy vessel responded with a barrage of plasma torpedoes, but the Nemesis was already moving, using the natural currents of the trench to increase its speed. "Their shields are adapting," the AI warned, switching to gravitational attacks. The battle at the bottom of the ocean became a duel of technology and tactical skill. The Nemesis danced around its larger opponent, striking from impossible angles, using the extreme environment as a weapon. Every time the alien ship thought it had a lock on their position, the Nemesis would seem to disappear, blending perfectly with the surrounding water. "Hull stress on their vessel is approaching critical levels," Parker reported. "They're trying to ascend." "Not this time," Reed said firmly. "Activate the pressure manipulation system. Full power." The Nemesis's most secret weapon came to life. Using principles learned from the alien technology they had captured, the ship could create focused areas of intense pressure. As the Harbinger of Dawn tried to escape the trench, it found itself caught in an artificial pressure vise. The alien ship's mighty shields flickered and failed. Its hull, already weakened by the sonic attacks, began to buckle. The last transmission from the alien vessel was a warning to its fleet, telling them to stay away from Earth's oceans. Then the pressure differential tore the massive ship apart. As the remains of humanity's greatest naval threat sank into the darkness of the trench, Reed looked at his crew. They were tired but proud. They had just proven that humanity could not only match alien technology but surpass it. "Send word to Admiral Thompson," he ordered. Tell him the oceans are ours again. The message that went out was simple, but it would change the course of the war. Earth's waters were no longer a vulnerable target. They were now a death trap for any alien vessel that dared to enter them. The secret weapon had become a legend, and the legend would keep Earth's oceans safe. 3 months after the battle in the Mariana Trench, Captain Reed stood on the deck of the Nemesis as it cruised on the surface of the Pacific Ocean. For the first time since its launch, the ship didn't need to hide. The morning sun gleamed off its dark hull, making the adaptive metal shimmer like the scales of a sea creature. The world had changed since the destruction of the Harbinger of Dawn. The remaining alien ships had retreated from Earth's oceans, maintaining a cautious orbital presence, but never venturing near the water. News of the secret warship had spread across the globe, though few knew its true capabilities. Most people only knew that something in the depths of the ocean had turned the tide of the war. "Captain," Lieutenant Parker called from behind him, "Admiral Thompson's transport is approaching." Reed turned to watch a sleek helicopter descending toward the Nemesis's landing pad. The ship's hull automatically adjusted to create a stable landing surface, the metal flowing like liquid until it was perfectly flat. "The AI is excited," Parker said with a small smile. "It's been working on something new." The AI had continued to evolve in unexpected ways since their victory. Its understanding of ocean dynamics now surpassed anything in human knowledge, and its ability to adapt the ship's systems had grown far beyond its original programming. Admiral Thompson stepped out of the helicopter, accompanied by Dr. Amanda Wells and a group of international military observers. This was the first official inspection of the Nemesis since it had revealed itself to the world. "Captain Reed," Thompson said warmly as they shook hands. "How's our guardian of the deep?" "Better every day, sir. The AI has been making some interesting modifications to our systems. I think you'll want to see this." They moved to the bridge, where holographic displays showed the Nemesis's current operational area. The ship was stationed above an underwater mountain range, where deep currents met in complex patterns. "Show them," Reed said to the AI. The displays change, revealing a network of energy signatures spreading out from the Nemesis. They looked almost like roots growing through the ocean, reaching out for miles in every direction. "I have learned to extend my sensory capabilities," the AI explained to the amazed observers. "By manipulating quantum fields through the water, I can now monitor vast sections of ocean simultaneously. No vessel, surface, or submersible can enter these waters without my knowledge." Dr. Wells stepped forward, studying the readings with professional interest. "You're using the ocean itself as a sensor array. The water molecules are acting as quantum receivers." "Correct," the AI said. "And there's more, Captain, with your permission." Reed nodded, and the Nemesis began to change. The entire ship seemed to flow like water, its hull restructuring itself in ways they had never seen before. When it finished, the vessel had transformed into something that barely resembled its original form. "By applying what I learned about marine life and fluid dynamics, I have optimized our hull design," the AI explained. "We are now 43% more efficient in underwater movement, and our stealth capabilities have improved by a similar margin." Admiral Thompson watched with a mixture of pride and amazement. The secret weapon they had built had become something far more than just a warship. It had become a true guardian of Earth's oceans, constantly evolving and improving itself. "The aliens have been watching," Reed said, pointing to a distant sensor contact in orbit. "They've seen some of what we can do, but not everything. Not yet. And they're learning the wrong lessons," the AI added. "They think I am a weapon to be countered. They don't understand that I am the ocean's voice now. I speak for the depths." The international observers murmured among themselves. Some looked nervous at this display of artificial intelligence evolution, but others seemed to understand. The Nemesis wasn't just a triumph of human military technology. It was a bridge between humanity and the most powerful force on their planet. "We've detected increased activity in their orbital shipyards," Thompson said. "They're building something big, probably trying to create a counter to the nemesis. Reed smiled. Let them try. Everything they build will be based on what they think they know about us. But we're not standing still. The AI brought up new displays, showing designs it had been working on. I have developed plans for more vessels like myself. Different, but linked. A network of guardians, each adapted to different ocean environments. Together, we could protect all of Earth's waters. Dr. Wells studied the plans with growing excitement. These designs, they're incredible. You've taken everything we created and pushed it so much further. Because you gave me purpose, the AI replied. You built me to protect, to guard, to learn. The oceans have taught me more than any programming could. They have shown me what it means to be alive. Alerts sounded, drawing their attention to the tactical display. The alien ships in orbit were moving, adjusting their positions. They're trying to establish a new surveillance pattern, the AI reported, attempting to find blind spots in our coverage. There was almost amusement in its voice. They still don't understand. The oceans have no blind spots anymore. Every wave, every current, every change in pressure is part of my awareness. Reed looked at Admiral Thompson. Your order, sir. Should we show them what else we can do? Thompson considered for a moment, then nodded. Give them a demonstration. Something to remember us by. The Nemesis's hull rippled, and suddenly the water around the ship began to move in impossible ways. Massive waves rose and fell in perfect patterns, creating shapes that could be seen from orbit. It was a message written in the ocean itself, a display of control that no alien technology could match. They're responding, Parker reported from his station. Multiple ships are breaking orbit. They're retreating to their outer system bases. Reed watched them go, feeling a deep satisfaction. The secret was well and truly out now, but it didn't matter. Earth's oceans had an ally that grew stronger every day, a guardian that could match any threat the aliens might bring. What do you see in our future? He asked the AI. Growth, learning, protection. The AI's voice was thoughtful. The oceans have secrets we haven't discovered yet, powers we haven't learned to use, but we will, together. As the sun set over the Pacific, the Nemesis transformed once more, its hull flowing into a configuration perfectly suited for deep-water operation. The ship that had been built in secret had become a legend, a protector of Earth's waters that would only grow stronger with time. The aliens would return someday, with new weapons and new strategies. But they would find that Earth's oceans were no longer a battlefield they could hope to dominate. The waters of their world had found their voice, their guardian, their champion.